Hello, this is Reverend Dore Patlian from Sarasota, Florida, teaching the science of mind. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope that during that Christmas, with all the presents and the fun and the joy, because that certainly is a big part of it, that you remembered that we were celebrating the entry into this world of a great soul, a great mind, a mind touched by God, a mind who brought us light and love and a whole new way of thinking and living. That's the majesty and glory of Jesus the Christ. And I hope you kept Christ in Christmas. You went beyond the manger and the magi and all the fun stories and really saw what it was all about. Today we're going to talk about the legacy of Jesus, the Christ. You know, it's been said that when we deified Jesus, we lost the Christ. And in some ways, I think that's true. When the Roman Church in the 4th century declared Jesus to be the literal Son of God, which had never been really accepted by most people until then, they really made the religion about Jesus, not about the Christ. We don't even talk about what the Christ is in Christianity. I think that's rather interesting. We use that word almost like it was his last name, and it was not. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. The Christ is a title. It's a title given to a great spiritual master who has a consciousness in union with God, that literally understands the power of God within them and uses it every day in their life. In other words, they can enter the kingdom of heaven while still alive and live in it. That's the Christ mind. And Jesus said something rather interesting to each one of us. He said, "Do you not know that you are all God's? Greater things than I have done will you do also, if you believe." What this means is that, you can use this mind too, but you have to learn how to use it. You have to learn to transcend the physical, to transcend the petty, the mundane, the vulgar. You have to quit pecking on the ground with the chickens and learn to soar with the eagles, in other words, to use a modern term. You need to get into that higher state of mind and stay there. You really don't have to worry about how you will live or what you will eat. He wasn't just telling a nice story there. He was telling the truth. But you need to change your mind and your thinking and your way of life in order to reach that state. That was one of the greatest legacies of Jesus. The other was that we have one God for all people, not little tribal gods scattered all over the place, where the Greeks had their gods and the Norse had theirs and the Persians had their religion and the Indians had theirs. And the Jews had Jehovah. Jehovah was a Jewish God. He was a tribal God, an angry God too. He had his chosen people, and those chosen people weren't Armenians or Greeks or Romans. They were Jews, period. Jesus said no. There's one God for all humanity. There's a universal God that we can worship many different ways if we wish, but there's one God. The other thing he taught us was that things are as you think they are. As a man thinketh, so he is. Is done unto you as you believe. These are just a couple of the ways he taught us that things are the way you think they are. Our thoughts are creative. Our thoughts are things. We paint our lives with the brushstrokes of our thoughts. It's been said that we write our life in our book of life with the pen of God in our hand. And that's true. God gives us the power to create our life. Our thoughts are things. They literally exist and they create our life. By the way we think, by the way we speak, and what we choose, we make our life experience. It does not happen to us. The next thing Jesus taught us that was so important was to turn the other cheek. No longer are we to strike back when we're struck. We're to turn the other cheek. And that seems hard to do, doesn't it, unless you understand the idea behind it. The spiritual principle is a very powerful one. When you turn the other cheek, you take the moral high ground. You disarm your opponent. Because in the East, they knew that wisdom. They taught what you resist persists. And it will persist, won't it? They hit you, you hit them, they hit you back until somebody's laying on the ground and can't get up, and then maybe their friends will go after you. It may never stop. Nobody wins in the final analysis. When you turn the other cheek, you win. No one will beat a person senseless who doesn't resist. They'll turn and walk away. The moral high ground has changed the world many times. Think of Mahatma Gandhi, who used it to free the Indians from the British Empire. With guns and bullets, he surely would have lost and millions would have been killed. Instead, he had his followers lay down on the tracks, all the railroad tracks, lay across them and refuse to move. The British ordered the engineers to drive over them, but they would not. They would not move those trains, and the British stopped. Everything stopped in India. Supplies couldn't be sent, munitions couldn't be delivered, and so the British eventually gave in. They had no choice. Either kill hundreds of thousands of people or leave, and they chose to leave. It took another 2 years, but it worked. Martin Luther King brought civil rights to the South. Been 100 years they've been trying to get their rights as citizens of the United States. He got it done in 10 years, and he did it through the same principles Gandhi used. Turn the other cheek. And there were many in the black community who wanted to stage a revolution. That would have been deadly for the blacks and the country. Martin Luther King said, no, we're going to have everybody dressed in their Sunday best with Bibles in their hands, and we're going to march down the street peacefully. If the police block our way, we're going to kneel and pray in front of them. Had such power that in most cases, the policemen even gave them flowers and brought lemonade for them. But in some cities, you had a different consciousness, and they were beaten and water hoses were turned on them. And the result was it sickened everybody who saw it, black and white. Even Southern whites couldn't stand to watch what was happening. Innocent people kneeling on the ground, praying to the same God they believed in and getting beaten for it. Even Southerners' hearts changed. And when that happened, everything came apart in a matter of a few years. That is the most powerful idea in the world. Turn the other cheek. In your daily life, stop being offended. Offense is a choice, ladies and gentlemen. No one ever has to be offended, no matter what somebody says to you, what they call you, what they say about you. No matter how hurtful it is, offense is a choice, and the choice is yours. Choose not to be offended. Turn the other cheek. The other great lesson Jesus taught was that there is no separation between each of us, that we're all literally brothers and sisters. That's not just a nice saying. That we're all one in God. We're all made of the very stuff of God. We're all made of star stuff. The energy that creates the universe is in us. We operate on the same system that the whole universe operates on. We are one with that infinite mind we choose to call God. You know, God is not a man up in the sky. He's a spirit. Jesus said that many times. He said, God is not over there or down here or up there. God is everywhere present. God is a spirit. And we forget that. We think of God as an old man up in the sky in some mythical place called heaven. Heaven's a state of mind. It's not a place. It's a dimension. We may all go there someday, but it'll be another dimension in time. It's not going to be mansions and pearly gates and walking around on clouds. That's the legacy of Jesus. This is the magic of what Jesus the Christ brought. He brought it with his Christ mind. The Christ is what we celebrate, not the man Jesus. The man Jesus was the vehicle for the lessons of the Christ. The lesson of Christianity is these four major things. Until we talk again, this is Reverend Dore saying, have a wonderful new year, and we'll talk more about this next time.